Darwin. I realized when I was doing my Darwin introduction, I went very long indeed, so thank you for bearing with me there. I didn't put him on the timeline, so let's do that now. Um, excuse me. Okay, so yeah, our timeline's getting pretty crowded here, and it doesn't even include all of the amazing work you've done for Lamarck and now Darwin. So let's just clean that up a little bit and trim it down. Okay, again, it doesn't include all your amazing work on Lamarck, but just to remind you, we started with Aristotle. There was a big long medieval period, and then things start to pick up with Vesalius, Harvey, Redi, Swammerdam, Leeuwenhoek, um, Linnaeus, and we've talked about Lyell and the using time as a correlating variable. Um, Cuvier, sorry, I should lump Cuvier in with Linnaeus, and last time we talked about Lamarck. So here is Charles Darwin. You could tell, the 19th century from 1800 to 1900 is getting pretty exciting. Um, so here's Charles Darwin, and he published The Origin of Species in 1859. So let me switch screens to uh, your assignment. Okay, so again, you've seen this spreadsheet quite a bit, not only in your own work, but here in this class. And remember, we started by talking about um, Lamarck and how we tried to breed cold adapted flies to see if their offspring would be cold adapted. And if you remember in the first sheet, we had some graphs kind of populate and show that there wasn't really any difference in how cold adapted the offspring were, whether their parents were cold adapted or not. And if you scroll down a little bit, so where I have it on my sheet is the first tab at the bottom here, um, starting around row 48 and column O, you can see this graph. And what I've done, and it should automatically populate, so reach out to me if it has not, is totaling all the different characteristics that you're following. So every offspring of a white-eyed parent, white eyes times, or white eyes crossed with Antennapedia, and white eyes crossed with Ebony, and white eyes crossed with Eyeless, and white eyes crossed with Vestigial, and white eyes crossed with white eyes, obviously, those are all added up. So obviously everything will be represented twice in these totals, and that's whatever. The point is that what you're going to see, and you probably noticed this already, is that some parents produce more offspring than other. Um, so in the first generation, you see that there, at least for me, there weren't as many eyeless offspring, no matter, it varied from cross to cross, but in general, there weren't as many eyeless offspring as there were ebony offspring, for example. And I'll be curious to see if yours agree with that, because this isn't super well controlled, right? Like how healthy the males and virgins were when I started the cross, and how many there were kind of varied, right? Whether there was just a single pair or two or three mating pairs. So I don't want you to take this as gospel. This is actually more representative of what would happen in the wild, right? Sometimes you get a single mating pair, and sometimes you get um, two or three, right? To say the least. The point really is that if you were to project these proportions, so there's roughly 10% more vestigial than there are eyeless, for example. So these proportions are not 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. They're more on the order of, and I'm just doing the math in my head here, 22%, 18%, 18%, 22%, 20, right? Thereabouts. So if you were to project that forward over generations, you'd see that, for example, Antennapedia would pretty much be outbred from this mixed population. And probably so would Eyeless and Vestigial. Now, Eyeless and Vestigial kind of makes, and Antennapedia too kind of makes sense, right? Like if you're a fly with wings that don't lift you off the ground, you know, your population is probably not likely to continue for very many generations. Whereas having white eyes apparently, or ebony bodies seems fine. You know what I mean? Doesn't seem to hurt anything. So they would likely take over these populations. Um, so again, I really want to stress that even though Lamarck's hypothesis was mistaken, the data you got from all of these crosses was really valuable. We couldn't have made this insight into Darwin without Lamarck, right? Like these data, and you're going to keep using these data. These data are going to give you tons of insights, so don't delete them yet. Um, but yeah, you can kind of see how certain characteristics would over time take over a population, so that a population that was a roughly equal mix of these five characteristics would eventually only have two characteristics, which again echoes, historically certain characteristics, and eventually certain species entirely would go extinct, right? They would be replaced with the same species but different characteristics, and over time, more and more characteristics would be replaced by something even better adapted, and eventually what would occur is extinct characteristics would amount to extinct species. Um, so congratulations. There are not many people who can make experiments to track evolution in real time, um, but you have. So good for you. And like I said, these data are going to be continue to be really valuable. So stay tuned.